trickle in, and we're recording the session so all our online only delegates can see as well. Victoria is going to introduce you, and then you can go ahead. Victoria, would you like to come and introduce Tayba? You can see us. You can see us, right?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Tayba. And like I said, we will be recording this, so the people that can't make it this morning, we have plenty of people that are registered online as well. So what you say will reach lots of people, but in the room today, we only have a few. So you're the lucky ones. You get to hear Tayba live. And yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting Tayba at a conference in Monaco on impact investing. And she was on a panel, and I was so inspired by the story that she had to tell. She's just a brilliant encapsulation of an individual tapping into their purpose, turning that into purpose-driven organizational action, and changing the world as a result. And that really is the story of how we are going to address the issues we face. So to have you here to encapsulate that so beautifully, Tayba, in such a magnificent story is a real pleasure. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hand you over to our lovely audience, who are very attentive, even if small. Small but perfectly formed.
Thank you so much. And it's an honor to be here as a plenary speaker. So my name is Tayba Hatimy. I am the co-founder and executive director of Baustaka Enterprise and a circular economy leader in Kenya. I'm actually a dentist turned social entrepreneur in the waste management sector, and I'd like to share my personal story of how I transitioned from dentistry into waste management. So back during the COVID pandemic in 2020, we had some communities that had complete lockdown, while other communities are on partial lockdown. So I decided to go to the supermarket to get a few basic necessities. And while I was driving there, I almost got involved in an accident with the 3 or 4 other vehicles because somebody decided to dump mixed plastic waste in the middle of the road. Now, this really shocked me, as in why people would do such a thing. And I reached out to the Mombasa County Department of Environment and Solid Waste Management to learn more about the challenge. A little bit of context, I'm from Mombasa County in Kenya, and Mombasa County is an island that is surrounded by the Indian Ocean. It's the second largest city in Kenya, and it has approximately 1.3 million people population. One of the major challenges in Mombasa County is the illegal dumping of mixed plastic waste on open spaces, on pavements, on the road, and tragically also directly into the ocean. Now, this causes marine plastic pollution. At that time, I came across a United Nations environment report that stated that if we continue business as usual, there is going to be more plastic than fish in the ocean. Now, at that particular time, I didn't really know much about climate change, about marine plastic pollution. So I decided to learn more about it. And I came across an article that said that when we have more plastic in the ocean, marine plastic pollution actually causes, it kills the marine biodiversity, it affects community health, it affects food security, and it aggravates climate change. So I learned that when the marine biodiversity dies, it reduces the ocean's ability to act as a climate regulator. Now, this shocked me into action. It triggered me into action. And because what I had learned, it fueled my determination to drive positive change. So in March 2021, we registered Baustaka Enterprise, which is a tech-integrated waste management enterprise on a mission to combat marine plastic pollution while creating green job opportunities for youth and women in vulnerable communities. Baustaka Enterprise What makes it different is that we were leveraging on tech. For those who had internet connectivity and you have a smartphone, we have a mobile application for you. But for the low-income communities and the informal sector, we have a USSD platform which does not require a smartphone and it does not require internet connectivity. So with a feature phone, the informal sector, the people from the communities, from the low-income communities, they are able to also access the app because the app is integrated with the USSD platform. Now, through the mobile application, we are able to streamline the waste from source all the way to recycling centers. This means that we are able to divert waste from being illegally dumped and reaching into the ocean, causing marine plastic pollution. One of the features of the mobile application and the USSD platform is that you can book waste management services on the go through authorized waste managers, thereby streamlining the waste. And another feature, is a very important feature, is you're able to take a picture of waste that has been illegally dumped in your community, upload it onto the mobile app, and this will be taken up by the Mombasa County Department of Environment in collaboration with Baustaka Enterprise. Now, the passion in my work in the environmental sector, in the waste management sector, is grounded in a belief that innovation, collective action that is spearheaded by women, and education can transform challenges into solutions. And in my industry, which is the waste management industry, we are able to create a circular economy that benefits both the people and the planet. Drawing from my experience, I have one key takeaway, and that is women play a crucial role in driving sustainable solutions. Yet our contribution and our leadership often goes unrecognized. Now, let us discuss more about why women's leadership matters in the environmental space. Women's leadership is vital because it ensures diverse perspectives, inclusive solutions, and equitable outcomes. When I take into my experience at Baustaka Enterprise as a woman in a male-dominated sector, which is the waste sector in Mombasa, I learned that the women, especially in the communities, they bring unique insights and lived experiences. For example, we're having a new law where it's a Sustainable Waste Management Act that has been enacted recently, and they're saying that every household in Kenya is supposed to have a 3-bin system so that there is waste segregation at source. This means when the waste is segregated, it is collected by authorized waste managers and it is streamlined for recycling. This means that we are diverting it from the ocean and it's not causing marine plastic pollution. But when you go to the informal sector and you go to low-income communities, they don't have space in their houses to have a 3-bin system. Now, if the government says that it's mandatory for you to have a 3-bin system, but these communities don't even have the space for the 3-bin system, what is going to happen? Women in these communities came up with their lived experiences and unique insights. And they said, we don't have the space, but we are able to have gunny bags, which don't take a lot of space. Why don't we use these gunny bags? 3 different gunny bags, different colors, color-coded, and we are able to segregate our waste. Now, if these women did not come up with this unique insight, it would have been a to and fro through the Department of Environment and the women in the community. The department is saying, no, this is mandatory. You have to do it because we are now ensuring we're reducing marine plastic pollution. But you're not coming up with a unique insight that can be implemented by the low-income communities and the informal communities. It is actually the women who came up with this unique insight and lived experience. Next, women are the primary caregivers in the households. And I learned that through experience. When it comes to waste, to food, energy, and water, in many communities, women lean in adopting and promoting sustainable practices. Another key takeaway that I learned is that women, when it comes to community, the women often spearhead grassroots initiatives that build resilience and promote adaptation strategies. We'll speak more about the community resilience that the women bring about. And another thing that we need to speak about is the education and advocacy. Women's leadership strengthens community awareness and mobilization for climate action, and in our case, sustainable waste management, fostering long-term behavior change. When we ventured into waste management, we knew we had to ensure the communities are onboarded, because Mombasa County, and especially the coastal counties in Kenya, we lack the necessary infrastructure to ensure that there is sustainable waste management practices. But what the women have done in the community is they have come up and they have said, we have women that have not gone to school. They were not privileged to get an education, but we have women who are really good in art. So we reached out to the women in the community and we said, when it comes to segregation, and we're trying to come up with the innovative solutions, but some people in the communities don't get it. And they said, why don't we use art? So we reached out to women artists in the community, and we sat down with them, and they were able to break down the complex challenges that are faced because of unsustainable practices, especially unsegregation of waste. These women came up with art on how it's going to be compelling to the community and also inspiring and showing the community how they can segregate their waste through art. And in the past 2 years, because of the art of these women, who are called the Collective Art and Solution, they were able to get the attention and inspire the community, a coastal community, which is in Old Town in Mombasa. It's a UNESCO heritage site. We have a community right now that is engaged with Baustaka, and they're the ones who are segregating their waste at source in their households. And this means that because of the women and their unique perspectives of using art, we are able to streamline more than 40 tons of plastic waste from causing marine plastic pollution. This is how we have unique leadership traits in women. And another thing is that women have empathy. We've noticed that in our projects, in sustainability projects, women have this unique leadership trait where they bring empathy to the sustainability projects. I'd like to talk about lessons from Baustaka, where we're having women driving change and segregating waste at source. At Baustaka Enterprise, we realized that since we don't have the correct infrastructure for sustainable practices in Mombasa and along the coast region of Kenya, we had to set up some sort of a community hub, which we call the Baus Eco Circular Hub, to ensure that the women are onboarded onto a program that is known as the Baus Eco Champ program. And when the women are onboarded, we have the women sitting and coming up with innovative ideas and coming up with unique perspectives on how we can spearhead, how we can lead community-driven leadership to ensure that we are reducing marine plastic pollution. So at Baustaka, we're empowering women in waste management through the Eco Champion program, where we empower them with trainings on environmental advocacy, on circular economy, on how to take climate action, and of course, sustainable practices, especially sustainable waste management. Now, these women then go ahead to become environmental ambassadors in their wards or in their communities. This way, they are taking up leadership positions in their respective communities to ensure they're onboarding other women and other young girls so that we are all streamlining waste from source all the way to recycling centers. A key takeaway is that when women lead, entire communities benefit, both economically and environmentally. Because at Baustaka, at the Circular Hub, majority of the women were telling us that We are women that did not go to school. We do not have income generating activities, and we would like to be involved to see how we can get supported. So through the Baustaka app, you are able to segregate your plastic waste and other types of waste. You get onto the app and you tell us how much amount of waste you have. The app is, we have a GPS integrated onto the app, and you are able to pick where exactly you are, and we'll give you a time on when we're going to come and collect this plastic waste or any other type of waste in the waste streams like glass and metal. We were actually piloting with the plastic because plastic is toxic when it gets into the marine ecosystem. And within 6 months, the mobile app had about 1,000 users, where the people would come in, especially the women. 95% were the women. The women would actually get onto the app, or they would come to the eco-circular hub, and they would bring the segregated plastic waste, and we would pay a cash incentive in exchange for that plastic waste. It's not a lot, but it's an income where we have feedback for the women, where some women are able to buy vegetables for their households. Some women have been able to buy stationery for their children. Some women are actually saving that money so that they're able to use it for their basic necessities. Now, even every time you use the mobile app or the USSD platform, you accumulate points. And the points that are accumulated can be redeemed for outpatient health services. So instead of us paying you that cash that you use to exchange the waste, the plastic waste with, we take that income, that money, we save it for you, and anytime you become unwell, we are able to send you to a partner health clinic and we pay for you. So when we are having the women come onto the eco-circular hub, they realized that we are actually being part of a movement where we are implementing sustainable practices, that is sustainable waste management practices. We are streamlining the waste, and at the same time, not only protecting the environment, but we are also gaining economically, but gaining an income from waste trading. So as I said, a key takeaway: when women lead, entire communities benefit economically and environmentally. We have key priorities for women's leadership in the environmental space, and I'd like to focus on 3 key priorities. One would be access to education and training. There is a need for mentorship, because mentorship creates a ripple effect in environmental leadership by empowering individuals, fostering knowledge sharing, and inspiring collective action, which multiplies over time. We also need skills development and environmental literacy. For example, at Baustaka, the Eco Champion program is not only at the coastal communities, but we also have partnered with schools, private schools and government schools, and we have onboarded the students, the young girls, to become eco champions in their schools. And we've had more than 30 young girls who have started environmental clubs, also Rotaract clubs in the Rotary international clubs. And also we also have clubs in the communities that have started from the Eco Circular Hub and the Eco Champion program. Another key priority is inclusive policy and representation. We do not have women in the grassroots levels being included in decision-making spaces. And it is imperative that we have such women, because it is essential for fostering diversity, equity, and effectiveness in policies and solutions. For example, empowering communities. Women's participations amplifies marginalized voices and strengthens community engagement, fostering trust and collective action. Again, women bring unique experiences and insights, particularly in areas of resource management, community needs, and caregiving, leading to well-rounded and inclusive decisions. The third key focus is financing women-led environmental solutions. In Kenya, when we have financing for climate-led solutions, environmental solutions, we've noticed that a lot of that funding actually goes to male-led environmental organizations. Very few women actually have the funding, mainly because they lack capacity, mainly because they're not involved in environmental leadership. We have very limited women leadership in environmental space. Women are not just participants in environmental efforts, we are essential leaders driving global change. Driving innovation in sustainable waste enterprises like Baustaka Enterprise, which is led by a woman. We have 50% of the enterprise is women-led, and at the Eco Champion program, we have more than 300 community environmental ambassadors in Mombasa County across the 6 sub-counties. And if you come to Mombasa today and you ask about a social enterprise that is leading in the circular economy space, you will be directed to enterprises like Baustaka Enterprise, which is women-led and women-driven. Another example of women's impact in environmental leadership is we have women leading community-driven reforestation projects, especially the mangroves. We have a lot of women who are leading in the community-driven mangrove projects in Kenya. And another example is advocating for policies that protect biodiversity and address pollution. As I conclude, I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas on how you would use your voice, your platform, and your skills to empower women leaders, especially in the grassroots communities, and how we can work together for a sustainable future. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Can you hear us okay? Can you hear me okay from here?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So we're going to, hopefully, the room should pick up people's voices well. But we'll test it out, and if you have any problem hearing, let us know. Who'd like to kick off questions with me? Do you want to do it?
No, I said, should I start?
Oh, it's Well, people are thinking, Tayba, can I ask you to explain something about your life before Baustaka and what a big shift you made?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear you clearly.
While we're waiting for people to think about their questions,
Yes.
could you explain to us the life that you had before you started this enterprise and what a big shift it was for you? What did you do?
I can't hear you clearly.
Could you explain to everybody the life that you had before you started the enterprise and what a big shift you made from before Baustaka to now?
Yes. So before I started Baustaka Enterprise, I was a dentist. I was doing my internship at Coast General Hospital in Mombasa. And I had started a small business on the side. I wanted to see how I can venture into entrepreneurship. And I learned about social entrepreneurship, and I was really interested about it. And I started engaging in community activities like giving back to the communities, working with women at the grassroots levels. And that was before the COVID pandemic. I was selected by the a US Embassy funded project, that is the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs. It's a White House-led initiative. And I pitched about a business that I wanted to start back in 2019. And I learned more about entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship in the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs back in 2019. And in 2020, there was a United Nations Institute of Training and Research that were looking for women. There was a program that was looking for women from the Horn of Africa to empower us on frontier technology. So when I almost got involved in an accident, it coincided with me being selected in that program. So I pitched about Baustaka Enterprise, and I learned more about how I can integrate and leverage on technology to ensure that we were not doing things as usual. We were not like in the waste management sector and collecting waste the traditional way, which is just going and collecting the waste, it's mixed, and then dumping it at the landfill. So during the UNITAR program, I was taught on how I can leverage on technology. And I pitched Balstaka Enterprise, in fact, during that program.
Oh, amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. So that big shift from dentistry, but
Yes.
obviously already had that in mind. Great. So who would like?
I would like to ask how they got the women to participate, and if there are any opinions or feedback from men or gender identity regarding the movement. And the third one is it possible to see the mobile app?
Yes.
Did you hear those questions?
Yes.
Must just be here.
There might be.
Okay.
Right.
The first question was, how did I get women to participate?
Yes.
Okay, so in Kenya, for you, when you're moving into a community, you have to go through, they call it, there's some sort of a hierarchy that is there. We have a chief, then we have the elders, then we have the ward administrator, we have the county government officials. So we went through that process, and then we reached out to the community elders who gave us their blessings. So we followed that process. Then we went out to the chief of the area to inform them about what we want to do and how we're going to be working with the women and empowering the women in the communities. And then after that, we met with the women leaders. We have several organizations who are leading in each communities, in every sub-county in Mombasa. We reached out to them, and we were able to build a rapport with them that we can sit down and come up with a movement with each and every one of us as part of the leadership in that movement, which is the Stop Plastic Pollution campaign. And the women were excited about it because they were going to gain free trainings. They're going to be able to be taught how to segregate the waste. They're able to create an income out of it. If you want to go to the hospital, we'll be able to facilitate that payment for you. We would connect them to circular economy associations. We would be able to connect them to the county Department of Environment, who were our partners. So everything aligned. It took some time, about maybe 7 months, but then at the end of it, everything aligned, and we were able to come up with collaborations and partnerships with the organizations in the communities, the women leaders in the communities, and the chief. We had the blessings of the chief. That's how we onboarded the women. And we replicated that same success strategy to other communities as well. And it has worked really, really well. Then your second question was opinions of the men. The men were not impressed at all because they're saying we were segregating them and we were not interested in working with them. But we had to do a lot of explaining. We invited them together with the community leaders, the community elders, to explain that we are having really low women participation in programs, especially in the circular economy space. You'd have other participations, maybe in GBV, in in other educational programs. But when it comes to waste management, it's very low participation of women in waste management, and especially in the circular economy space. So we had to explain that to the elders and bring on the men on board. And we told the men, when we empower the women and the money comes to the women, we all know that women spend on their families. So when the women get the income, they would be spending on the families. That means they are supporting the men as well. So that was taken really well by the men. Although we had some men not allowing their women to be in the programs because we had the cameras and videos. We were supposed to be interviewing a few women, but some men were like, we don't want our women to be seen by other men. So we had that cultural stereotypes, and we had a lot of gender biases, but 4 years in now, we are working with men and influential men. Like, for example, we reached out to a celebrity chef. His name is Chef Ali. He's a very well-known celebrity chef in Kenya, and he was part of our Stop Plastic Pollution campaign. He was able to also change the perspective of some men that when the women are leading in this space, it's also good for you. So that was how that's the strategy we took when it came to the men. And we do have men in our team. 50% of them are men. We have a lot of men who are actually bringing segregated plastic waste to our eco-circular hub. And we also have a lot of men who are joining our community cleanups. In fact, the last community cleanup we have in collaboration with county government last week, majority of the people who showed up were men because they don't want their women to be seen by other men in the community. It's a cultural plus religious aspect to it. So we had a lot of men that came out in numbers to support. So now the men are actually supporting the sustainable practices, especially sustainable waste management. I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, I think there's a third one. Is it?
Sorry. Are we able to see the mobile app?
Yes, you wanted to see the mobile app. I don't know. I'll have to
You'll
send.
have to make it so that you can share your screen, I think.
Yeah,
That was the last one. But
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I just wondered if you, and then, yeah.
I'll make you a co-host and then maybe you can share somehow.
Just a second.
Sorry, Anna. It's always a little bit complicated, the technology.
Tayba is also going to appear in the book that we're finishing up writing at the moment, called Beyond Profits. So you can hear her story there as an example. I hope you'll agree, a fantastic example of making it happen on the ground.
And then-
can you share your screen?
Let me try sharing the screen.
And then I have just another question is like, you know, in the next 10 or 15 years, where would you like to take it? Would you like to expand or how would you like to see the enterprise in the next moving forward? Maybe this is a difficult question. I'm sorry.
In the next 15 years, we should be having the mobile app in the African continent. In fact, just last month, we were selected as, we were 16 youth-led and women-led enterprises, and Baustaka was one of the winners in the East African community, and East African community with GIZ, the German embassy, German Federation, something to do with the German embassy and the German government. They funded us to ensure the mobile app will not just be in Kenya, but across the 8 partner countries, which is Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi. So we're starting with Kenya, Uganda, and Somalia. We see how it goes in the next 2.5 years. Then we're going to go to the next 4 other countries. So we've already started that. Yes. We pitched during the Secretary General's forum, the East African Community Secretary General's forum in Nairobi. Okay, let me try to share my screen. Can you see?
No. Oh,
yes.
maybe.
Yes,
Yes, we can. You need to move that out of the way. Just yeah.
Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Make it bigger.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay. So that's the GPS. So you're able to choose a cart or a tuk-tuk. A tuk-tuk is a 3-wheeler, which we use. I can send you pictures. Or you can use a lorry. A lorry is like a truck. And then we have a cart, which is like 2-wheeled. It can go in very narrow alleys at the low-income communities where the cars can't pass. And then I think let me take you from the beginning. Let me take you through from the beginning. So this is the mobile app. This is the GPS. It's GPS integrated. You are able to choose either the dispose waste feature, sell your plastic feature, or you're able to donate your plastic. Because we realize that 30% of the middle income and 100% of the high income households, they donate their plastic because they want to give back to the environment and create positive change. So if you choose the donate plastic, you would be booking for either residential or commercial institution or corporate, depending on which entity you are. You pick on your, it's able to pick on a current location through GPS. Then you go to the next step, the types of waste. As you can see this, we have ensured you want to know what type of waste is being collected and whether the waste is mixed or it's segregated. Now, when you give us mixed waste, we are not going to give you any points. You are only going to accumulate points that can be redeemed when your waste is segregated. So you can choose either mixed or segregated, the number of waste bags you're going to give us. You can input that. Let's say 4 waste bags. Move to the next step. On the next step, you want us to come picking using a cart, or come picking using the 3-wheeler, which is a tuk-tuk, or a lorry, which is a canter. It depends on the amount of waste you have. It depends on what community you're from. And it also depends on which, whether you're residential households, whether you're a commercial institution or you're a corporate. And how often you'd like us to come and pick, whether it's one time, daily, weekly, or monthly, because we have subscriptions. For us to be sustainable, we charge a minimal fee for us to manage your waste, most especially when you're a high-income household, especially when you're a corporate, and especially when you're a commercial institution. So you'd reach out to us, and we would be able to go into either into a collaboration with you, or into an agreement with you where you will pay us every time we collect your waste and we manage it. So you'd pick a tuk-tuk, you'd pick weekly, and you'd have in your M-Pesa phone number. So you'd input the number. And you move on to the next step. Now, this is a summary of all the steps that you did, and then you make a request. And after you make a request, you'll receive a message saying we're processing your request. And this is a summary. And you're able to make payment. Now, either when you are disposing of the waste and we're managing your waste, you pay us. But if you are donating your waste, there's no payment. And if you are selling your plastic waste, we pay you. So when it comes to low-income communities, we pay low-income communities. When it comes to high-income communities, they pay us. That's how we're sustainable.
Great. Now, Tayba, we have another question here. Just before I pass to you, I don't know how you collect, what vehicles you use for collecting waste, but yesterday we had a fantastic presentation from a range of people looking at solutions of which and implementing them, many around plastic. And there was a particular presenter who was specifically in the plastic waste sector, but who was also separately in the electric vehicle sector, and has worked with someone to create a circuit board that the communities can create their own very small electric tuk-tuks, essentially, which might be a really nice collaboration, because of course the other component that you have is transport and localized electric transport. And also a solar vehicle was another, from another presenter. There was a very small solar vehicle, which is, if I'll make the connection between you two, if that works for you, because I think a lot of people here saw that presentation, huh? Yeah. So yeah, I'll make that connection by email, Tayba, yeah?
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, because we want to venture into electric vehicles. But the feedback we've been having is that waste is very heavy, especially organic waste. Plastic waste would be okay. It would be perfect for plastic waste. But organic waste is very heavy, especially when it is wet. And electric vehicles don't have the same power as the ones that use fuel. That's the feedback we've gotten from those that are using the electric vehicles. When you go into a community, because our roads have a lot of potholes, so when you get into a pothole, now coming out of that pothole is a nightmare. You have to have people push it out.
So there's another person on that panel that I will introduce you to as well, who has these small, and they can be run even by bicycles, grinding machines that take organic waste, so that actually they turn into soil within 3 to 6 days, and you don't even need to transport it. You can use it on site. There are no rats, no vermin. It's incredible technology and very simple, and he's working across the world with communities. So I will also introduce you.
Fantastic. That's great news.
As part of that, they create something called Trashcrete. So basically, there's a way to separate and use every single piece of waste, glass, plastic, whatever. The plastic, but also the glass, goes into something called Trashcrete, and they're working at the moment to strengthen that so it can be used in buildings, but it can be used for art or for fencing or for, sort of low impact paving. I'm just wondering whether that material could then be used to fill potholes in some way. But that's
fantastic. This is great. This is great news. Please do connect me with them.
I will definitely do that after your presentation. Fantastic. Okay, great. So,
it's very fascinating. I'm so impressed with what you're doing. I want to
thank you.
Said about leadership and what and how women spend the money. See that if you give a certain amount of money to your support women, the money is spent for the family, like you said, and not for drinking. And so it's much more efficient for aid to give to women. But leadership style, like how do women, through experiencing how women lead compared to how men lead, like I'm talking about communication about employees, motivation, these kind of just basic leadership skills. Is that different between women, like what you're experiencing?
Yes, thank you for for that brilliant question. When it comes to male leadership, the male leadership, through my experience, is authoritative leadership. I have said this needs to be done, this has to get done, and it will get done. But when a woman comes, especially women from the marginalized community, where we come from, that is the coastal region of Kenya, we have marginalized communities here compared to the rest of Kenya. So when a woman comes up and tells you, I need you to support, or we have a program that we want to implement and we need your support, we need 1, 2, 3 from the county government. As women in this coastal region, we go in with servant leadership, which is very different from authoritative leadership of the men. So you would see a lot of women go back into their shell because they're scared. Every time they go forward, they're told no, or they're told, yes, it's gonna get done, and then nothing is done. In fact, many people, when they see me, they ask me several times, are you sure you're from Mombasa? You seem to be very aggressive. And I say, I'm not aggressive, I'm persistent. There is this stereotyping of women, especially at the coast region of Kenya, where you have a lot of women asking for something, even though they're in some sort of a leadership position, but it's servant leadership. We are kind of scared that the men are going to perceive us in some sort of way. Again, it could be cultural, it could be religious. So you have a lot of women being going back to their cocoons and being like, oh, it's okay, let the men just take lead. But through our eco-circular hub, we are trying to build the confidence of the women in their leadership style, in that as long as you're a woman in a leadership position, and not just a leadership position, even if you have an organization or in your household, people need to listen to you. Irregardless of where you're from, you're part of the community, you're part and parcel of the community, you're giving back to the community, they have to listen to you. So we need to empower the communities more, especially the young girls right now, to speak with confidence and change the leadership style.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can personally really see what a massive impact that part of what you do must have, and the fact that you embody I have to say, my reading of servant leadership, so in terms of leadership theories,
Yes.
I think maybe you mean something slightly different, because servant leadership is a fantastic thing, and it can be very bold and it can be very persistent, but it means that you are acting to enable others, and that is your primary position. I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm here to enable something to happen. So this is positive, but I think when you were talking about servant leadership, maybe subservient non-leadership is, people are feeling, you know, maybe, but we can talk about this later, it'd be interesting.
Yes.
But I can imagine what power you have, and maybe that is the most powerful thing that you're doing in the community. It feels like it could be.
Yes, definitely. And there's also one thing I'd like to emphasize on, and it's okay, when you are a woman in a leadership position, for me, yes, servant leadership, giving back to the community and all that, but we need to have other people also empowering us. I was not able to get to where I am because I'm persistent and I'm giving back to the community. Yes, that's there. But I stood on the shoulders of giants. I had our work recognized by the US Embassy in Nairobi. So that gave me that credibility and that confidence that my work is recognized here. I'm doing something great. Let's keep moving forward. But we have women in the community, even though they are trying their best, they've not gotten that credibility, so they take a step back.
And now you are the giant that they can stand on.
And that's when I spoke about mentorship, that it's so important for mentorship. You know, we have mentors mentoring the young girls, and they have somebody that they look up to as a role model and say, if she can do it, I can too. Let me do something for my community. And in fact, we're having a lot of young girls right now who are very bold. They're taking bold actions, starting their own enterprises, mentoring other younger girls, even if it's just one person being mentored, but they're really coming up now because they're seeing this lady is been supported. Like, I know if I post about this, people will be like, oh my God, you actually spoke, you know, at the University of Florida. This is great. What can I do to support? What can I do to actually give back to the community and also reach where you are? So I think this as well, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. It's going to go a long way to supporting me and my entire team and the Eco Champions on the ground.
It's fantastic to know, Tayba. Now, are you on LinkedIn? Will you be
Yes,
posting this on LinkedIn? Okay, so
definitely.
could everybody here? How will we, so if we all connect with you, it's just your name, yeah? Tayba Hatimy. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe if we could, if you want to, commit to connect with Tayba and then look out for your post and amplify it and explain what an inspiration she is, and then we can do our little bit as well to support.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really love how you brought to life the concept of empowerment. It's easy to talk about empowerment, but through all of the actions you've described, and particularly that last one about embodying that confidence and literally passing that confidence on, is the basis of that empowerment. And then what can we achieve in the world if we have that sort of amplified energy? So thank you very much. Are there any other questions, or we can
Yes.
Oh, we have another question. Oh, we have two questions. Fantastic. So you're not off the hook yet.
Hi, Tayba. This is this is very inspiring to hear. I was just wondering, when you started this all out, what were some of the steps you took to for outreach, to mobilize women?
Thank you for the question. As I had earlier said, we reached out to the chiefs of the communities, because in every community, we knew what community we wanted to work with, where we were going to set up the Eco-Circular Hub. So you have to go through the chief first. Then from the chief, you go through the community elders. So they all have to be in the know of what you're doing. they give you their blessings, and then they call the women from the community-based organizations in that community, women with maybe enterprises in that community, or influential women in that community. They call them for a round table meeting, introduced us, and we picked it up from there. Now, for us, we were able to showcase the value that these women would get collaborating with us. So we articulated that value really well. They understood how much they're going to gain, as well as giving back to the community, and also ensuring that they are protecting the marine ecosystem. Because in Mombasa, it's an island. The food that we have is actually from the ocean. Because people from the low-income communities don't have money to go buy food. They're living hand to mouth. So what they would do is just get on a small boat and go fish, and then they come back home and they have that as their meal. And when there is marine plastic pollution, the amount of fish stock is being depleted. Now you have to be part of this. So they understood that if we are not part of this, if we do not onboard this, it's not good. When it comes to community health, illegal dumping of waste, we didn't even have one of the disease outbreaks. It's called chikungunya. It was a new thing that was brought by this illegal dumping of waste, and then heavy rainfall. And we had mosquitoes with dengue fever all over the place. We had chikungunya, which is a disease outbreak because of that waste. So articulating the value they're going to get, articulating the disease outbreaks and the adverse effects that directly affect them, they were able to say, you know what, we need to be part and parcel of this. But the women, as the primary caretakers in the households, they were more about, these are our children. We need to ensure our children are healthy in terms of food, in terms of a clean environment. And on top of it, you segregate your waste and you get an income. So it's basically a win-win situation.
Thank you. Thank you. That was useful extra information as well. Please.
Hi, Tayba. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. My name is Gloria, and I'm based in the U.S., and I'm an early stage eco entrepreneur as well. So I have one technical question that I hope is not terribly boring for you, and a second more theoretical application to the U.S. context. The first question is, in terms of your waste collection, do you face, in the US, we have a problem where based on your zip code, or sometimes even your neighborhood, the waste management system is completely different. So you could be in the same city and your collection, your types, the types of bins you have could be completely different. For example, within the city of Boston, we have a 3-bin system that's public, but our neighboring town, there's only a 2-bin system, and then food waste is privatized. So it's a separate service you have to pay for. And I'm wondering if you run into that at all in the Kenyan context.
Thank you for that question. In Kenya, prior to 2023, we did not have segregation at source. It was not there. You just have one bin, dump everything inside. A waste collector would come, they would dump everything onto the truck and go dump it at the landfill. That was business as usual. But then people started learning about circular economy and that there's marine plastic pollution depleting the fish and aggravating climate change. Okay, now let's go into coming up with a Sustainable Waste Management Act, where we are mandating everybody in the country to ensure that they have a 3-bin system. Now, the national government says there's a 3-bin system that is color-coded. Then you come down to the counties, which is waste management is a devolved function. So Mombasa County is one of the 47 counties. You come to Mombasa and they're like, oh, we have a Solid Waste Management Act, and it states that you have a 2-bin system. Now, you're supposed to listen to the national government, and you're also supposed to listen to the county government, because waste is a devolved function. And as a citizen, you're there like, okay, who do we listen to? They're saying 3-bin system. We're saying 2-bin system. What do we do? But then again, in the counties, Mombasa County, there is no public waste management system. Unfortunately, very sad. There is nothing like a public waste management system. We have either you are an authorized waste manager like us, or you are an unauthorized waste manager. When we ventured into waste management and we're trying to streamline we learned that there are two groups of people who are collecting waste on behalf of the government in Mombasa, because there's no public waste management system. One, it is the people who they don't have homes, they're homeless. Okay, we wouldn't call them homeless because they do have homes, but somebody just drops them somewhere so that they can get money. And then at the end of the day, they're collected to go send back. It's some sort of a cartel that is there. So these kids are dropped and then they're told, okay, go get money. And then at the end of the day or at the end of 2-3 days, they're collected, they go get the money and they drop back the kids. So those are the people who are collecting waste from the households. And then the second group of people are people using drugs. How we knew is the director of the largest drug rehabilitation center in Mombasa reached out to me and he said, Dr. Tayba, we noticed something. Our people are coming carrying sacks and we've been wondering what's in that sack, those sacks. So one day they decided open these sacks because everybody who's coming here has a sack. And when they checked, they saw plastic waste. And they asked them, where are you taking this plastic waste? And they said, oh, we're going to Baustaka, we're going around collecting waste. So we realized, apart from the private stakeholders, the private companies who are collecting the waste, it is the homeless people and the drug users who are going around. Now, these are the same people that collect it and illegally dump it. Because if you're authorized, you have the permit to go to the landfill. And you would go to the landfill. But when you're unauthorized, you would just take it and dump it into the ocean when nobody's looking. You dump it on open spaces. You dump it on the road. That's why we almost died, because they don't have the permits. So in the coast region of Kenya, it's a mess because no public waste management system, very few private entities, 1 or 2 social enterprises, the rest are collected by unauthorized waste managers. And that is why the county government is now trying to come up with a strategy to ensure that if you are a household and you are giving your waste to a non-authorized waste manager, they're going to take legal action on you because it starts with you. You have to ensure you give your waste to an authorized waste manager. Even though it's not the government collecting, we have permits, we have to show you our badges. So that is what is happening. But when it comes to a uniform waste management and collection system, we don't have that. We have a long way to go.
Well, thank you, Tayba. We've run out of time now, but that describes the situation very well, and seems that there's also an opportunity there to really help those people with the addictions to be able to find an income source that moves them perhaps into a better place. And in terms of those other illegal operations, everywhere in the world has them, I would suspect. I know we have them in the UK and they cause massive problems. So if you can crack that nut, Tayba, and send that around the world, then everyone will be happy. Okay, well, thanks so much. Maybe another round of applause.
Thank you.
We'll have your LinkedIn post.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tayba. We'll speak to you soon.
And bye.
Bye.